Well, thanks for joining the Prosperous Sellers podcast today. My name is Steve Yates. I'm your host and also CEO of Prime Guidance. I've got a special guest, Carrie Miller from Helium 10 today.
Hello,
Welcome,
everyone.
Carrie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. I know we've been trying to connect for quite some time. We
Yeah,
had a joint presentation that you and I led at Prosper Show, which was fun to
yeah,
do with you. And I learned you're a wealth of knowledge. So I'm excited to see what you have to share with our
sounds
audience.
sounds good.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about your role, what you do, and also
Okay.
about your own selling businesses, your selling on marketplaces.
Yeah, so I work at Helium 10 as a brand evangelist, and so basically I help people understand how to utilize the Helium 10 tools. And I focused when I first started on Walmart, but now I've kind of expanded out a little bit more to TikTok, and always have been focused on Amazon. That's as our main set of tools at Helium 10.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
Amazon's still the 800-pound gorilla, but
Yep.
I think there's a lot of Amazon sellers and brands that have been on Amazon for a long time, and they're mature
Mhm.
enough that they're looking for incremental business opportunities. And Walmart kind of fits the bill, right? One of the fastest growing marketplaces.
Yeah.
They're kind of like copying in Amazon's footsteps, essentially, just a little behind.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that specifically? Like, where do you see Walmart's successes, and any particular tips or strategies for those selling on Walmart?
In terms of Walmart, it depends on the category. I think some categories you get on there and maybe they don't have as much traction or they're more competitive. So
Mhm.
I would say to look in the categories like the home categories, or like decor, toys. I've seen a lot of people do really well with those types of things. It's the things that are kind of that are more challenging would be things where the brands really dominate, like apparel, apparel, some things like like a toothpaste brand. Although people have broken into Walmart, which is really cool to see. I've seen some, like I even think I saw Guru Nanda kind of rise. I don't know how long they've been around, but I saw them on Walmart, and then I saw them on TikTok, and they're just kind of breaking in there as well. So it's definitely a really good opportunity to get exposure. And then you also have opportunity, if you do well in the marketplace, to get in the stores, which is another great way to expand your business. So Walmart's definitely a the biggest retailer in the entire world. So it's a really good platform to be on and grow with it. It's definitely growing. They're changing and kind of maneuvering as they're learning, I guess, kind of like Amazon was years ago. But I've definitely heard a lot of success stories coming out of Walmart as well.
Yeah, and I think you're right about the categories being wildly different as far as success stories, because the way I like to tell our clients, be where your customers are spending their time and money. And think about who's going to Walmart. Those customers are generally going there for products that they would expect to find at Walmart. So if they're commonly going into store to buy those items, or if it's a category that they're dominant in, they're going to expect to go there, and they tend to be a little bit more value conscious or everyday purchase conscious, versus maybe higher end brands, luxury goods, things like that. You may see worse performance, but even in the fact that you don't have as much traffic there, you still may have a lot less competition. So maybe it's still worth being there. And I'm a big fan of being at the early stage of growth with a platform like Walmart. So if your competitors haven't really been paying attention, maybe it's a good time for you to be well positioned and get reviews going and everything else, your listing quality score to be that much higher than your competitors, so that you're one step ahead when they do start paying attention.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you can just even walk through the store and see the different aisles. Like if you go through the home decor section, most of the stuff you don't know any of those brand names. So that's probably a good opportunity, because people aren't going to be shopping for specific brands. But then you might go into like, kind of the cosmetics section, and those areas are going to be a little bit more brand focused. Revlon, CoverGirl, all those types of brands are in there. So yeah, you can just kind of take a walk through Walmart and see where the opportunity is by doing that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sellers that built their business on Amazon, kind of like Anchor. Anchor is a good example
Mhm.
where they built their business on Amazon. Now they're in a lot of different retail locations. Your ability to get on someone's radar on Walmart is pretty cool, because now if it does start showing up in top of search results for a category where the buyers are paying attention, they're going to be a lot more receptive to you reaching out. And also, if it's a hot item, they are proactively going to reach out to you, which is a really good thing. So I think there's a lot of reasons to be there. What are some of the most important aspects that people fail to do on the Walmart platform to be successful?
I think the number one thing is that they need to make sure to optimize for Walmart. There's a lot of conversion tools, and I think they work for some other platforms, like for TikTok Shop and different things. You can, convert your listings and still do pretty well because it's focused on, selling via video. But with Walmart, they're really specific on how they want you to list things in their catalog. And so if you follow those guidelines, you have a lot better chance of getting ranked. So I would suggest following their guidelines. They have it completely written out on their kind of help guides. So I would suggest doing that, and don't, keyword stuff. I think that's a big one. People are keyword stuffing a lot on Amazon, and then think, oh, let's do that on Walmart, but they'll kind of not, you're not really completely suppressed, but you're not going to get as much visibility if you follow when you follow their rules of that. And I think also another thing is people don't advertise. People get on there and they just put their products up and they're like, I haven't got any sales. And I'm like, well, have you started advertising? And no one would ever launch on Amazon and not advertise or promote somehow, which I think is, so it's really funny. So I hear that a lot, like they haven't done any ads. And I've heard some people are doing some pretty well with some of the auto campaigns recently, which wasn't the case when I first started. So you don't have to spend a whole lot, but just get in there and start learning. It's very basic right now with Walmart ads. So it's a good time to kind of learn from the ground up.
Yeah, I think I would mirror your statement. I think that what you expect on Amazon, just lifting and shifting on Walmart, just doesn't work. The titles need to be shorter. The bullet points need to be more succinct, and the description much longer. Like they want different things, and you've got to speak to their algorithm. But their algorithm tells you what they want, right? The listing quality score says fill in this attribute, and your listing quality score will go up, or shorten your title, or whatever. So if sellers are really determined, I mean, just put one person and say, hey, I want you to spend 1 hour a week going through and optimizing our Walmart business, you're going to see game-changing results, because these are important to Walmart, and there's multiple benefits of doing so, right? You've got to get the listing quality score in good shape, and then be eligible for the pro seller badge. And there's multiple facets to it. So you've got the content quality, and you've got the shipping speed, and you've got the reviews and all of that. And I feel like a lot of people they miss one of those components. Like they just never paid attention to trying to get reviews ingested on Walmart, which is actually something that's uniquely able to be done in other versus other marketplaces, or they just don't focus on the content optimizations. Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And as far as advertising, you mentioned the auto campaigns. I see the same thing. Our clients see much better results on automatic campaigns versus what you would expect on Amazon. For some reason, it's like they trust their own decision-making more than they just trust their sellers on Walmart, and they just tend to perform better. So it's, I think, an important strategy to do both, like auto campaigns across the board, and then manual campaigns once you start learning where you can really, boost up those bids to win against competition on the terms that are working. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
And do you use WFS yourself? How important has that been for you?
Yeah, I use WFS, which definitely when I first started, I felt like it was really important to do WFS because you don't want to get penalized for any kind of shipping issues. And that is one of the things that helped me get the pro seller badge. And the pro seller badge helps you get a lot more visibility. So I do think WFS is important, and it makes it a lot easier. But some people don't want to kind of spread their inventory around. So I don't know if all the audience knows, but you can actually fulfill orders through Amazon MCF, which is crazy to me because they used to shut down complete accounts for using Amazon MCF.
Now they're encouraging it.
So I was like, what is happening right now? That's not even So yeah, so they're kind of changing their ways in that respect. So they want you to, have fast, reliable shipping, and they're okay with using Amazon
And
MCF.
it's on both sides too. So Walmart says, hey, we'll ship Amazon orders and we'll ship other orders as well. And Amazon saying we'll ship Walmart orders. It's like they're both in the chase for who can be the most dominant in the fulfillment space, knowing that there's a lot of channels and people don't want to spread their inventory around. I think it's really nice to have that option. I think that multi-channel fulfillment still doesn't give you as much of a gain as WFS as far as the 1 and 2 day shipping for Walmart Plus, but it's still a step in the right direction. A lot better than especially with the new shipping rate or speeds on multi-channel fulfillment on Amazon. It's a lot better than it was before. And now, recently they made it so that the pro seller badge, you have to have half of your assortment 2 day eligible is something that they recently rolled out. So
Yeah.
you've got to make sure that you're not just putting the best sellers in WFS.
Right.
So keep the pro seller badge.
Yeah.
What do you see as far as the tactics that you're doing on Amazon that's working, and how do those kind of differ between those two marketplaces?
So I'm actually kind of doing pretty much the same on Amazon, but I'm actually going back in and kind of re-optimizing my listings right now to see what I can do to kind of boost conversion and look at all the data a little bit more. But I've been kind of looking more into, just the TikTok realm and what that entails. And so I've been hearing people doing ads on TikTok, really like low cost ads, and they're making a lot more sales on Amazon as a result, because people on TikTok, of course, they'll buy stuff on TikTok, but if they trust Amazon more, they're going to go search your brand out if they like what they see. Yeah. So that's kind of an interesting thing too. So I've been kind of focused on learning about the ins and outs of TikTok to kind of help boost the all around. Been also working on my Shopify site. I just did a little bit of kind of some tweaks that have actually increased the conversion rate on our site. Because
your Shopify site?
Yeah, I mean, there were things like buttons kind of being blocked by pop-ups and just all kinds of little things that actually cause people not to purchase on your site because they're just like, oh, this is frustrating, and they'll just skip up. So making it as easy as possible on your Shopify site for people to check out, that's another thing that we're doing. And yeah, there's just I think expanding out to as many platforms as you can to kind of grow all around is important, because when you have all your eggs in one basket, it makes it a little bit more stressful.
Yeah, for sure. I think that to your point of TikTok shops, you can clearly sell as part of TikTok, and then they make it easy nowadays, so you might as well do that. But putting a link to your brand store and your bio and stuff like that, I think is still a wise move for people to try and encourage customers to get to Amazon, and maybe they're more comfortable browsing the products on Amazon. Maybe they're more comfortable with the checkout because they've got their credit card saved. Allow the customers to have an easy path to purchase either way. And that kind of backs up what you said with your Shopify site. You've got to make it easy. It's the little points of breakage that matter the most, because you look at Google Analytics, you look at the checkout flow from the time they go to your site to the time they actually make a transaction, and there's always points of significant breakage where maybe they add to cart but they don't proceed, or they get to the credit card page and they don't enter their credit card or whatever. Try and figure out the whys, what's keeping them from doing it. And a lot of times it's the simple things that you don't realize, that this third party extension is, like you said, blocking an important button, or depending on the size of the resolution, it's not rendering properly. There's a lot of nuances like that. So I'm glad to see you're paying attention to that.
Yeah, I didn't for a while. I had, and I think, if anyone's just starting though, don't stress about, all those things. I would say get something up at least have your Shopify site up, because that's kind of how I was. I was like, okay, I'm going to use these templates. I'm going to get it up and running and do the best I can with that. And then once you start getting more traction, then it's like, okay, we got to kind of optimize this a bit more.
I think that's right. I like to say progression over perfection. So if you can get something up there, at least there's going to be some percentage of customers that go from Amazon and they want to see the manufacturer's website. They want to see who are you, gain a little bit of trust. Having a website there is really important, and that website doesn't have to be the best thing since sliced bread. So just get it up, make sure it feels authentic, that it doesn't feel like a Chinese factory or something, that you're showcasing the uniqueness. Maybe you're made in America, maybe you're a woman-owned business, things like that. Highlight those things and help build confidence, and then get better over time. And once you have a Shopify site, you can use a lot of those capabilities to make order management on other platforms easier. Like Shopify has their Marketplace Connect app, so it allows you to synchronize orders and inventory to Walmart and to Amazon and others as well. For those that don't have a more sophisticated feed management software or ERP, that's a decent solution for them.
Yeah, definitely. We used it for TikTok. There was an app to kind of pull our orders in through Shopify.
Yeah. And nowadays you guys have really made at Helium 10, you really made it easy to get on TikTok. Do you want to explain like some of the tools that you've rolled out that really help people make that migration a lot easier?
Yeah. So the first one is a listing converter tool, because I think that's a big hurdle for a lot of people, especially if you have a lot of products. You don't want to, you're like, oh man, I got to list all these products. It's going to take a while. So we have a listing converter that uses AI to help convert your listings to TikTok, and it does it in seconds. So it takes your Amazon listing, and then you basically connect it to TikTok, and it'll set it all up for you. So that's really good, because you can get up running fast. And then all you have to do is kind of set up your shipping after that. And we do have a way to connect MCF through Helium 10. So you can do your product mapping and all of that through Helium 10. And it kind of monitors the process there. Another thing is we have an influencer finder app that basically helps you to be able to message TikTok shop affiliates in bulk. And the cool thing about it is you can find it based on, their followers, their GMV, their a lot of different things. So you can say you want to find, somebody with 5,000 to 10,000 followers, and they have maybe at least $1,000 in GMV. You can sort for that. You can also sort for their, interests. You can sort for the types of products that they actually have been most well known to promote. And you can sort by their followers. If you want an audience that's mostly male or mostly female or whatever it is you want to do, you can basically narrow down to kind of the best types of TikTok shop affiliates for you. And then you can message them through Helium 10. And we do have an AI capability that helps you write these emails. It'll allow you to put in the commission that you want to offer them. And then you push send. And then that way you don't have to go into the TikTok console and do these one by one, because that usually takes, a lot of time. And I think that's what kind of was a hurdle for a lot of people. But now, now we've got this system where you can message people really quickly and efficiently. Because people I've talked to, they're like, okay, if I message 800 people, I might get 10% response, might. And then out of that, an even fewer amount of people who get samples and then actually do a video. So you got to kind of have mass amounts of outreach for TikTok. So that's important to understand too. And also you need to make sure to have a lot of inventory. So these are some things I've been kind of listening a lot to TikTok shop affiliate podcasts, just kind of see what they're looking for. And one of the things they look for is they want you to be in stock. So if they find a product and somebody's reached out to them and there's only like 50 in stock, they're not going to be excited to do that, because if their video goes viral and they sell out that fast, they're not going to make that much money. So they want to see the money potential with the inventory. They also want to see you have good reviews. So if you don't have any good reviews, you need to figure out a way to get reviews on TikTok especially the products that you're promoting. So get some reviews on there. And then also commission rate is important too to them. I heard about between $5 to $7 commission is what they want. But some of them do also still promote, products where they get $1 commission and it goes viral and things like that. But for the most part, I keep hearing that the sweet spot is like $5 to $7 per item that they sell commission. So it's pretty pricey if you have a lower priced product, but I'm sure there's room to, work out a deal in between there. And then they also like if you're going to put ads behind them. So you'll notice on TikTok that there's ads. They don't even look like ads. They just roll up in your feed. And basically what you can do is you can give them a lower commission rate if you're spending on ads, and say you can work out a deal. Hey, can I put ads behind your video and I'll pay you, say you're normally buying, spending 15% commission. Maybe you give them 7.5% after that, or 10%, whatever it is that you work out. And then they'll still get commission for that video. And then you get to promote it a little bit more. And that actually works pretty well as well. I saw a girl, cause I went on, I think it's Kilo data is, I don't know how you say it, but it's data for, influencers. And there's one girl who does about 1.5 million GMV every month. And I noticed that a lot of her videos are boosted by ads. So there's definitely a lot of opportunity for ads. And that kind of leads me into another thing that Helium 10 is doing, is we actually have an ads management platform now too. So you can manage your TikTok ads through Helium 10. Makes it just easy to set up and manage everything all in one place. So there's that as well. But yeah, those are kind of the main things. But it's really interesting kind of hearing from the influencer side. They really want long-term brand partnerships, which is good for all of us that are, really wanting that as well. And a lot of people are talking about, getting them into like a group chat, like a WhatsApp chat, or have them on, like have your influencers in doing contests where, they get like $100 gift card if they're the highest seller. Even though they are making lots of money on these sales, they still get apparently excited about getting a gift card or winning, because they just like the competition too. So there's a lot of different ways that you can work on TikTok. And you can also even go on and sell yourself. If you want to go live, there's a seller that we have. Helium 10 has an entire TikTok course to help you get started on TikTok. And one of the people that's one of the guests on there is he sells men's underwear, and he sells live on TikTok. And last year he just decided, hey, I'm going to go all in, and went live, and he was selling, quite a bit, like $5,000 a day to start off with. And then he did over 1 million in sales on TikTok with the men's underwear. And he talks about just ways to stop the scroll, ways to, get people's attention on the lives, and how to interact with, super fans, and how lives kind of work, and how just the logistics of it too. Cause you've got to, pin a product while you're talking about it live. And there's a lot of things you can't say as well that you got to make sure you're not in violation. Like, one thing is you shouldn't be wearing like a Nike shirt, no kind of brand names if you're going live. You can't show, if some people do packing, you can't show any addresses or anything like that. So if that gets in the camera view, like you'll get dinged for that. So there's a lot of things you got to also be aware of. And so he kind of talks about a lot of that stuff in the TikTok course.
I think I know who you're talking about, and they're quite the business in underwear. So on TikTok,
yeah. He was at the $1 billion seller summit. If you were,
yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I really like that Helium 10 has gotten beyond the basic like research components of what do we do on Amazon, but you're really trying to make everyone's lives easier. And TikTok and the influencer finder are two really good examples of that, where you've taken something that was, in my case, in my opinion, overwhelming for a lot of people, and just made it downright easy, and say, okay, we're just going to help you step by step do the integration with TikTok and find the influencers with all of these great filtering capabilities. And I know we often hear people saying, I don't know if I want to spend the money on Helium 10 when they first come to us. And I'm like, are you kidding? Like, this is such a small dollar amount for what the value can be if you utilize the tools. So like the influencer finder, we have a call scheduled next week with one of our clients that, they haven't been using influencers, and our consultant was like, hey, let's just get on the phone and show you how simple this is. And we're going to have their social media and influencer person, go through, head to toe all the capabilities that Helium 10 can provide. And when you look at how much time saving you get when using tools like the influencer finder or the TikTok integrations and so forth, it's kind of like a no-brainer. I mean, the value is certainly there. I wish people just took more opportunity to get to know all the different components that Helium 10 offers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's even just kind of a small part of it, but
Mhm.
you get data insights for keywords and where
Huh.
you're coming
Yeah.
from. We basically pulled in those Amazon reports that are really hard to download and read on Seller Central, like the search query performance
Mhm.
and then brand analytics. Like I remember when brand analytics first came out, we were like at Billion Dollar Seller Summit, and they were like, "Oh, let's all pitch in money to get some developers to download all these lines and create all these uh, ways to filter through it." And it was just like impossible pretty much to do on your own. And so now we have it directly through the API. If you have brand registry, you can have access and filter through that data as well. So there's so many things that make it so easy, and it's such a huge value. Even just the one influencer finder tool, a similar tool is $300 a month on its own.
Mhm.
So it's, that in itself is more than Helium 10 costs even at the higher plan. So it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And like you just mentioned the search query analyzer and so forth. I mean, um, having the ability to have more, like it's just an Amazon report, you're able to get the same data, but have better ways of slicing and dicing and stuff just makes it that much quicker for you to find the little nuggets that you're looking for.
Exactly.
Um, I know you mentioned the Billion Dollar Seller Summit, and I've seen you there, and I know you just went to the Iceland one. What conferences do you find most valuable as a seller?
Mhm.
And, and what do you think is, a good fit for sellers to kind of set their mind and say, I'm going to go to these types of conferences to learn this or that?
Yeah, I would say for, beginners, Prosper still has some good beginner kind of
Mhm.
material, I guess you could say. And so I think that's a good place. And then you kind of meet service providers there, and that's kind of a good way to kind of get a feel for the industry. And then I've been going to the Billion Dollar Seller Summit personally for I think 5 years, and I think that one's pretty good. I'm
Mhm.
also branching out. I'm going to Amazon Accelerate, and the Amazon Accelerate is good because they have kind of like a genius bar. If you have any questions or issues with your account, you can actually meet with an account rep, and that's like the only time during the year you can actually meet face to face and do some fixes. And then after that, I'm going to an AI conference that's led by Perry Belcher, mainly because AI, people are using a lot of AI in the Amazon business. And so I want to kind of really understand more about AI and how I can utilize that in my own business, my own Amazon business. And that's that's an important thing for me, just to kind of keep up with the competition and not let them beat me on just because I didn't learn about the AI capabilities that save them all time and money. So I think that those are probably the main ones that I've liked. It's kind of hard. Usually, what I do is I look at who the speakers are, if I've heard them, and sometimes there's online summits, and they might give the same presentation online.
Mhm.
So I usually kind of just see what the topics are and see if they've already given that, you know, specific talk
Mhm.
before, to see if it would be worth it. But a lot of the times, the networking is helpful too, to find other people who are also sellers,
Yeah.
that you can kind of work with. Um, I think that's super valuable too.
Yeah, I think the networking, and just talking to just other sellers about the challenges they're facing and how they've overcome them and such, even if they're unrelated categories or what have you, I think it's probably as valuable, if not more valuable, than the sessions a lot of times.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, there's a big disparity. Prosper Show, I think, is the best expo hall as far as the number of breadth of vendors. If you need software solutions or service providers or what have you, and masterminds like the Billion Dollar Seller Summit, to me, have really advanced strategies and tactics. And there's a lot of things in between. The Amazon Accelerate and Amazon or the Walmart Seller Summit are both great for if you have the right purpose in mind, right? To get to know
yeah,
more about new tools and how to more effectively use the breadth of everything that they have available and get help and so forth. But you're not going to generally learn any advanced strategies or whatever at those conferences. But I love that you're going to the AI Summit by Perry Belcher, and I love that you're actually trying to learn from the TikTok influencers how you can best serve them to get their exposure. And the one point you made was, tie advertising to the influencer. And I thought to myself, I think it's really great to offer that because I think most people don't think about that. And throughout my career, I was a merchant at Amazon and Dick's Sporting Goods and a bunch of other big retailers, and have a lot of negotiation training. And in negotiation training, it's all about getting a win-win. How can you get what you want and they get what they want? So if you're getting, some sort of you're paying out a commission, they're getting that commission, but they're getting added breadth of exposure that you're actually willing to subsidize. I think that, a lot of these influencers, they got big heads. They want to they've got the audience, and you're now helping add to their audience. You're not just relying on their audience. And I think that that's a really interesting twist. So
yeah, I really have liked, because I've just listened to a bunch of podcasts about their experiences. And it's really just an interesting thing because it helps you to work with them better, or just understand what they want, so that I'm not going in and lowballing them, or just, offending them right off the bat, or something like that. But,
yeah. And I imagine it's, wildly different if you're trying to get Kim Kardashian versus someone,
yes.
That's a small audience. But understanding how to play at those different levels is important, and what their expectations are. So that's good insight.
A lot of them too, like, they're all ages. So even sometimes, you think, oh, it's going to be a young influencer, but there's people that are older and they're influencers, and they are doing very, very well, because there is a huge audience of there's an older audience on TikTok as well that listens to them and relates to them. And so, I wouldn't discount based on age or anything like that, because there's a lot of opportunity there, especially with those older influencers, which I've seen they've done really well. And then I also noticed they also do a lot of, they'll have multiple accounts. So they might have an account that does this or that, and they have different niches. So you might kind of go across some of their accounts if it works.
Yeah, I think that's good advice, because try and figure out who's going to most closely align with your customer base, and don't have predetermined notions on who that is. I know personally, I love all things Tesla, so we have multiple Teslas in the family, and I follow a lot of influencers on Tesla to learn about the new full self-driving software that just got released or something like that. And surprisingly, those individuals are generally older.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect that, because it's a very tech savvy component, but I think because of the price of the vehicles, it's not really attracting the younger influencers as much as it is the older influencers. And they just built a big reputation, and they've got a big following, and it's just unorthodox, but that's what it is. So find those people that are the right influencer for your category, and that you think would be like their word of putting their stamp of approval on your brand is going to be meaningful to your customer. I think that's a good, perfect marriage.
Something else too, I thought about is I'm going to be putting in an insert in the samples packages of like the benefits of the product and all the good things that they could say about it. And potentially even put in like hook ideas that have worked, because the hook is the really important part to stop the scroll, and so some work better for certain types of products than others. But also I have had some videos done where I'm like, oh, that was definitely not the right thing that they should have said about the product. So if you kind of have a guideline and write it all out, so that they at least know what the benefits are to buyers, they can promote those. But it's really interesting too, because the people who I've seen on it's Kalo data or Kilo data, I don't know how to say it, but I've seen that they're not even like polished. They're just like maybe not even brushing their hair all the time. They're just like getting on there like normal. And like, I think that's the difference between TikTok and Instagram. Instagram's more polished, and TikTok is very like people are just talking to the camera. And the girl who does like, a million, it's usually between 1 million and 1.5 million in GMV every month. She is just out there not putting herself together, like not polished at all. And she's making a ton of sales. So that's also something to consider, because you might look at them and be like, oh, I don't know, they're not as, polished as, but people relate really well to that on TikTok. So that's something that's been really surprising to me just working with them. But yeah, just kind of giving them a guideline of what you would, what's good about the product so that they know what to talk about in the video is helpful.
I love that idea because our daughter is selling her house, and they had an open house, and I said, okay, so I was just trying to do fatherly help, and I went to ChatGPT and said, here's a picture of their house, here's some key benefits, make a list of, of key talking points that we can print out and leave with the realtor, so that the realtor that's doing the open house really knows how to sell the house, and that people can take it with them and have the information on the address, the contact information, the key benefits, etc. And I think it closely aligns. You don't trust someone else that doesn't know your brand as well to really portray it well. So make it like dumbed down, easy, prioritized in the right areas of what makes your product special, and you're gonna get much better results.
Definitely. So it's definitely a learning experience. So we're all still learning.
That's the fun thing. I've always loved e-commerce because it's fast-paced, ever-changing, and that's what keeps me interested. I'm bored if I'm doing the same old thing all day. And with AI, it's like that on steroids, and it's like every day something new's happening, and these solutions are leapfrogging over one another. And, they're advancing at such fast pace. It's amazing what you can do with them. I mean, I sign up with all of the major ones. Any particular AI tools or software solutions that use AI that you found to be really helpful as a seller on these marketplaces?
I mean, I mainly use ChatGPT. I have the paid version of it. And I think the difference is how you prompt, no matter which one you're using. It's prompting, and there's a whole guide, like Google has a whole prompting guide that you can download, and you can kind of get a better idea of how to prompt. And I even use it, like I'll ask it how I should prompt for images. Like, what would be the best way for me to prompt you to create an image for my product on? And it basically tells me. So I find that really helpful, because I'll even just like, oh, how do I get optimized for if somebody's searching for my type of product in ChatGPT, like how can my product be recommended? What are the steps I need to take? And then it'll just tell you all the things. You don't even have to go to a seminar for that. It's just, it'll tell you directly, oh, you need to get, into editorials and things like that, so it's just kind of really, but yeah, ChatGPT is the main one that I use. I started using Canva's AI image generator a little bit, but it's still not there yet. But the ChatGPT one is actually okay. The paid version anyway is, and a lot of people are using that one. I have, AI note takers and things like that. So that's why I'm going to the conference, to get a little bit more in tune with the AI and what's going on. And there's a lot of things you can do for SEO for your website using AI, and I haven't done any of that thus far. How about you? Do you have any that you recommend?
We use them all. I say I use ChatGPT the most. I will use Perplexity sometimes, Claude for certain things like contracts. Grok actually is pretty useful. Teslas include Grok in their cars, so that's kind of fun. Like the whole way on our last trip from the store, I was asking Grok, like, tell me about, because our refrigerator went out, so I was like, tell me about these models. How are the reliability? How are so I was getting all this information as I was going from store to store, trying to do my research and shopping. And it's just super helpful to have that. But their image component with Grok, they have this Imagine tool within Grok that will take, you upload an image and it'll turn it into a video. And it's actually gotten really, really good. So I'm enjoying that a lot. Those are the main ones. Like I said, Perplexity and others are all useful. But they all seem to have their own, pros and cons. Like they seem to do better with some things than others. I
Mhm.
totally agree with you on the prompts. Like you've got to be detailed. But one thing to know is they're still not trustworthy yet. I'll give
Yeah.
you a funny example. Yes. So in the last 2 days, our air conditioning went out and our refrigerator died.
Oh no.
The air conditioning unit yesterday died, and I went up in the attic and I took a picture of the circuitry on the board, and I sent it to both ChatGPT and Grok, and I said, well, first before I went up there, I said, here's what's happening. The thermostat's going into delay mode. It's like kicking on for seconds, and then it will or minutes, and then it will shut off and say it's delayed, and then it'll kick on again, and it's like sporadic. And both of them said, oh, it's probably a fuse or something. They gave me like 6 different things it could be. Um, so I went up there, I got a picture of the circuitry and sent it and said, where's the fuse? I don't see it here. And I know what fuses look like. And there was no fuse on this board.
Mm.
So I sent a picture to ChatGPT and I said, show me where it's at. And it came back with an image that looked almost exactly like my image, but it was not my image of this same looking board. And it said, look, it's the yellow and purple fuse here, and drew an arrow to it. And I'm like, that is not the picture I uploaded to you.
That's so funny.
I said, use the exact same picture that I uploaded and show me where it's at.
Yeah.
And it could not get it to. I mean, obviously, there was no fuse, and Grok confirmed there's no fuse on that board, but it was just giving me completely false data, and it was confident and even had a picture to back itself up. So you've got to be really careful. It's really great, and most of the time, these tools are giving you so much. They're like getting you 80-90% towards whatever you have to do. Super easy, but it's something you need to sense check. So when
Yes.
in the air conditioning example, I called my friend that's an owner of an HVAC company. I said, hey, what could this be? And within a matter of seconds, he's like, it's probably this little safety switch, because your drain line's probably clogged and it's tripping that, which would cause the intermittent power. And he said, if it's a fuse, it would be permanent power outage. And I thought, yeah, you're right. Why would ChatGPT and Grok both suggested it might be a fuse when I told them it was intermittent power? They both basically got it wrong as well, but an experienced HVAC technician knew right what it likely would be. So don't discard the experts and just rely on AI, but use AI to make you more efficient, get you 80-90%, and then use the experts or yourself to fine tune it and really get you across the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think is, I mean, you can tell, like when I get something and somebody sends it to me and I can tell it's all ChatGPT, I know that they haven't even spent a second looking at what it was saying. But you can tell, the people who are using AI, you don't even really know it because they've prompted well and they've given the information because they're the expert, but they just needed it maybe a little polished or something, a little bit of help from the AI. But when everyone's just shutting off their brains and not looking at it, I think that's going to be a scary place where we're at, because then nobody's going to, have the right answers.
Yeah. And your point was valid on the, if I just know it's from AI, I don't trust it. And I had just a learning lesson that I had with one of our consultants at one point. I said, hey, you built this kind of best practice deck, and you put all this together and use ChatGPT to kind of make it, kind of make it come to life. But it looks to ChatGPT, and you can't look ChatGPT because it's, no one trusts that it's truly the expert's point of view, even though it may align with your point of view, and you may have said it covers all the right points. We can't, trust and credibility, and making sure that it's truly with a work of an expert's hand, I think is super important.
Yeah, definitely. Because I can tell. And if I can tell, most people can probably tell.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What do you think about the state of selling on marketplaces today? What do you think? What do you see? And you talk to a ton of people.
Mhm.
Are people generally doing well? Are they suffering? Or is there a lot of fear about tariffs still, or is that kind of maybe a worry from the past? What What's your kind of vibe on the industry right now?
I think that a lot of people are talking consistently about fees, that Amazon keeps kind of upping the fees and things are more
Mhm.
expensive and harder to
Mhm.
be as profitable on Amazon without raising the prices. So I think that's one big thing. Tariffs are definitely still a concern. So people still are trying to figure out where to go, and because the Chinese tariffs aren't exactly low.
Mhm.
So that is an interesting challenge. Whereas I think sales have slowed down for a lot of people. It
Mhm.
depends, I think, on the industry, but it depends. Amazon said they had their biggest year, for Prime Day or for the 4 days of Prime Day, of course. So people are still buying stuff. You just have to figure out how to capitalize on it the most,
Yeah.
more than anyone else. And I think that's the biggest challenge. I think that it's really a smart idea to diversify, and I hear that a lot. People are like, I'm going to diversify now. Maybe everyone's been on just Amazon, but now they're like,
Mhm.
no, I really want to own the customer. I want to figure out how to build my customer base outside of Amazon. And TikTok's a great way to do that, and Shopify, and even Walmart. It's going to expand your reach as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that that's a valid point. And whenever we go through challenging situations, it makes us sharper if we allow it to. Like COVID, changed the game for a lot of people where, for example, restaurants couldn't be open, so they had to start food delivery. Same thing with retail stores and so forth. So even though it
Yeah.
was like this horrible event, actually we took a huge leap forward in our ability to innovate. And I think third-party sellers during COVID realized that shipping costs went up and access to inventory went down, and maybe their cash flow is not good enough with to be able to weather a storm. Hopefully, they've taken that into account and built more of a cash reserve. But these tariffs are yet another scare where
Hmm.
all of a sudden your cost of goods that you're comfortable with, the margins you're making, may not hold true. Are you
Yeah.
survivable? Are you putting all your eggs in one basket in one marketplace? Let's learn from this and say, okay, we're going to spread out our reach, be where our customers are spending their time and money, own the brand. Don't be in it. Don't say you're an Amazon seller anymore. You're
Hmm.
you're a a brand that sells in
Yeah.
multiple channels, and diversify and really understand the customer and the lifetime value of those customers. So you can see, okay, if I spend money in these different channels, here's how they move from one channel to another. Here's what the total value is as they
Yeah.
interact with me across these different channels. And then it makes it a lot more palatable to spend the money on marketing when you know that you're building a brand, a reputation, and a long-term customer relationship versus just a single sale.
Yeah.
I think that's
Definitely. I also do think there's been a lot of pop-up like service providers that are using AI. So that's something to be aware of too. Like not everything is going to help, explode your business.
yeah.
And so there's a lot of outsourcing of AI that is popping up. So just, focus on things that are always tried and true with
Yeah.
selling. I think that's the thing, is go back to basics. Who's your audience and how to appeal to them, and focus on all of those things rather than kind of shiny objects. So I can use this or
Mhm.
that, and I can make this much money here and there. That's what I would say.
Actually, the shiny objects examples are really a valid one that I see as a problem with a lot of sellers in this space because and the invention of AI and the acceleration of that has caused that to even get worse, where there's just like,
Hmm.
oh, I can do this, oh, I can do this, I can do this.
Yeah.
Well, are you doing the core bread and butter items that you need to be doing to focus on profitability, focus on growth, and
Hmm.
doing all of the optimizations and everything else versus just rolling out something that's really exciting, but it's going to represent a small upside and business opportunity. sometimes you spending that time when you could be spending it more wisely, even across multiple channels. Like if you're not doing everything you need to on Amazon, you start doing all these other marketplaces, you could be actually taking a step back because you can at
Yeah.
least focus on your 800-pound gorilla and focus on these smaller opportunities. So you've got to make sure that that's stable before you start expanding off of that.
I agree with that.
And the AI word is used so much that you can't trust that it's actually AI. You'll see a lot of
Yes.
tools that are not using AI, and all of a sudden they rebranded, and now it's AI everything. And it's the same old algorithms and rules that they already had in place. And now they're just calling it AI. As I was looking for refrigerators, I was noticing like Samsung refrigerators say Amazon AI, or not Amazon, AI compressor, AI cooling, AI. Like, I don't think your compressor is using AI.
No.
So
No.
now you lost my trust and credibility
Yeah.
for your brand.
Exactly.
Be careful and just use it wisely. Learn fast and just try and stay one step ahead, and you'll do great. But don't get overwhelmed and so forth. But it's an exciting time we're in, and I really appreciate you taking the time to walk through everything that you're doing and share so many insights with our audience. Why don't you take a few minutes and just tell people how they can reach you and
Okay.
if they want to reach out.
Yeah, if you want to find me, you can find me on LinkedIn. Just search Carrie Miller Helium 10, and I usually pop up there. I'm also trying to start an Instagram, Ecom Carrie on Instagram. I haven't posted anything yet, but
Cool.
ECOMCARRIE on Instagram. So those are the two places that you can start following me there, and I'll try to start posting some more content there and just little tidbits and things that I'm learning as I go to help people along the way.
Very cool. Thank you so much, Carrie.
Thank you.
Thanks
for having me.
everybody. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.